Ben here, and I'm coming back to you today with another video. It's been a while, but I'm back. And today my video is going to be about who I perceive to be the top 10 current NBA players today. So, for instance, just to clarify, this is not like all-time greatness. This is just current greatness, like they're like based on right now. So, for instance, if you're doing this a few years ago and you had Kobe at 8 and you had somebody like DeMar DeRozan ahead of him, obviously Kobe all time is better than DeRozan, but in that year, like let's say 2015, DeRozan was probably a better player. That doesn't apply too much to this, but just to clarify, in case you were wondering, based on where I have some of the players ranked, it's based on like right now, 2018, how good I think each of these players is. So to start off with, I am just going to explain quick how I'm going to do this. I'm going to start at 10, work my way down to 1, and as I go along, I'll list some stats from the most recent season about each player, and we'll go from there, and I'll talk a little bit about each guy as I go along. So at number 10, I have Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers. Last year, his stats were 23 points a game, 11 rebounds, and 3 assists a game, which is pretty good. I think that he would do better if he could play more minutes. He only played 30 minutes a game because he's on a minutes restriction. He didn't play the whole season. I think he missed around 20 games. The thing that's holding him back from being a top 5 player in the NBA is the minutes restriction and the fact that he's very, very, very injury prone. I think that the sky's the limit, and he could do anything if he didn't have those injury restrictions. He'd essentially be a mobile, good at shooting version of Shaq, I think, in today's NBA, because he's not necessarily as big as him. He's about 7 feet and 250, and Shaq was 7'1" and about 320, but just in today's smaller NBA, he could have the same type of impact that Shaq did back then. So yeah, I really like him there in Philadelphia. I like him with Ben Simmons a lot. I like what they're building. I think in 2 years you could see him be a top 5 NBA player and easily surpass some of these guys. So that's what I'm looking at. I think that he is looking great, but just needs to stay healthy and keep rolling. Okay, so number 9 I have on this list is Damian Lillard. And here's probably one of the few examples of a guy where you might say, oh, well, like, why is he above Embiid? But my opinion is that right now he is probably a better player than Embiid, but Embiid in 2 years could be a much better player than Lillard. But for right now, I have Lillard above him. So Damian Lillard's stats for last year are this: 27 points a game, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists. He did really well in leading the Blazers to the 3 seed. I really appreciated that performance and that the effort that they did to get there. Of course, they did get swept in the first round, but I think that they showed a lot of progress in the regular season, at least, in that they were able to secure the 3 seed and match up well against a lot of the fierce teams of the West and do pretty well. So I found that impressive. I like him a lot. I think he's better than Kyrie Irving. I think if you swapped him and Kyrie Irving, the Blazers would be like the 8th seed last year, because I feel like Kyrie is a really good player, but he really needs to be in a system or with other great players around him to do well. Our evidence is that this year he did really well with Brad Stevens' great system, and in Cleveland he did really well, obviously because of LeBron. But before LeBron got there to Cleveland, they were always about between 20 and 30 wins, even when they had some decent parts around him, or at least what I perceive to be decent parts. They never could really get over the hump or even get into the playoff conversation. I oftentimes thought that they were going to be in the playoffs like in 2013 and 14, but they weren't because I had really high expectations for Kyrie. But I don't think he necessarily makes other players better. I think he himself is just a good player, whereas Dame seems to be able to elevate the team, and that's why I have him on this list. The next guy I got on here is the Greek freak, Giannis. I'm not even going to try to say his last name because I just don't want to mess it up and offend him if he ever were to catch wind of it. But so yeah, Giannis in Milwaukee. His stats for the last year are 27 points a game, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. He is a great player, and I think that some people are a bit not confused, but they misinterpret his game in that they essentially figure that he's Ben Simmons, but um, can score more. And I think that's an off-base comparison because I think although the Greek Freak can handle the ball and has played point guard at times, he's more like how LeBron plays, in that LeBron is a point forward too. But LeBron doesn't like to play squarely point guard because that means that you have to do all facilitating, whereas Giannis and LeBron both like to do some scoring themselves, whereas Ben Simmons' primary goal is to distribute. But the Greek Freak has the 5 assists a game. I'm always expecting him to get more because he does handle the ball so much, but I think that that's a bad assumption, and we should just get used to him being more of a forward than a point guard because they did get Eric Bledsoe in a trade as well during last season. But the 27 points a game is outstanding. I think he was a top 5 scorer in the league. From the looks of this, he was actually about third or fourth. The 10 rebounds is awesome for a small forward. He is nearly 7 feet, so that makes sense that he's getting 10 rebounds a game. But all around, an amazing player. Only 23 years old. It's going to be exciting to see where he is when he's about 26, 27. I think you could see those numbers at more like 30, 11, and 8. That's what I would hope for. But we'll see, you know. Even if he just stayed at the level he's at now, he'd be a great player the rest of his career. So, yeah, great talent, young. So it's exciting to see what they could become later on. The next player I have on this list was a really hard one to rank because he didn't play much at all last year, but the year before that he was arguably a top 3 player in the NBA. So I have him at 7 here, and that is Kawhi Leonard. I'm not going to read his 2017-18 stats because they're very different from what his stats would be expected to be because he only played about 16 to 20 minutes a game. So they're different than what you're probably used to hearing for Kawhi Leonard. But the year before that, 2016-17, his stats were 26 points a game, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. That's pretty good. You know, the scoring is the amazing part. I never thought he'd be a great scorer in the NBA, but he obviously has the ability to be a great scorer. The whole feud with the Spurs is a mess, and they'll have to get that cleaned up if he ever wants to wear a Spurs uniform again. I don't know. I ranked him higher than the Greek Freak, though, because I think that the difference is his amazing defense. You know, he's probably the best on-ball defender in the NBA when healthy. He, you know, I'm not going to say shut down, but he helped slow down LeBron in the 2014 finals and got the finals MVP. 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards. So I think that he's an amazing defender. I think that Kawhi Leonard is essentially what you could expect if Scottie Pippen played full-time on his own team without Jordan for his whole career. I think that that's what Kawhi Leonard is. Scottie Pippen without a Michael Jordan on his team. Because Scottie, in the 1 year that he played alone, averaged about 23, I'm going to say about 6 and 6, I think. And he played awesome and obviously was the best perimeter defender of the 90s and on-ball defender. So I think that Kawhi is an amazing talent. I hope he gets healthy. I hope he gets on a team where he gets to obviously be a star, or goes back to the Spurs and plays really well, because he's one of the best talents we have in the NBA today. And what more can you ask for than your best players to be playing and be healthy? Number 6 on here, I have Anthony Davis. I like him a lot. He always seems to give 100% on the Pelicans. His stats for this past year were 28, 11 rebounds, and 3 blocks a game. And he really turned it up after DeMarcus Cousins went down with injury. They had the 10-game win streak. They got to the 6th seed in the West when a lot of people predicted them to miss the playoffs. They got to the second round, which is really impressive. And he was the leader, obviously, the whole time. I like him a lot. I think that I don't know if I can see him like being the best player in the NBA one day. Maybe he's kind of in this odd gap where the other guys that are his contemporaries like Harden and Westbrook and KD and Steph are all like 28, 29, and he's around 25. He's 25 years old. So, by the time they're out of their primes at like 33, 34, he's probably going to be like 31. So will he be in his prime, or will a guy like Ben Simmons be the face of the league by then? It's kind of hard to tell. I think that he could. I think that what will happen is he'll sort of be like Curry and Durant in his prime, where he's always considered like, oh, he's a top 3 player, but not necessarily the best player in the league. I think that's sort of his trajectory for his career. But a great player, only 25. I can't wait to see what he does the rest of his career. Interesting if he stays long term in New Orleans or not. He has a long contract there for about the next 4 years, I think. But if they don't play that well, he could end up being traded. That'd be interesting. Next guy I have on here is James Harden at number 5. Now, you guys might think he's a little low at number 5, or you might think he's actually too high. I don't know. The perceptions on Harden are very ranged, I think, in the NBA. Some people think he's tremendously overrated. Some people think that he's the best player in the league, better than KD and LeBron. I don't know. I obviously find him to be somewhere in the middle because I got him at 5. He is one of my personal favorite players, probably about my favorite player. Him and LeBron are about my favorite too. And then after those guys, well, I'll have to do a different list sometime about my favorite players. But those 2 guys, and especially Harden, are 2 of my favorite guys. As you can see, I obviously have the Harden poster up. But, okay, his stats for the last year were 30 points a game, 5 rebounds, 9 assists. They had the best record in the league with 65 wins. They got to the conference finals, 1 game away from the finals, get forced to Game 7 on the Warriors. I think most of us can agree that they probably would have made the finals if Chris Paul was healthy, I think that a lot of people were like, oh, the Warriors just had it, and they were just letting the Rockets get a few games on them, but I don't think so. I think for sure the Rockets go to the finals and win the championship if Chris Paul doesn't go down with injury. And I just love the development of Harden over the years, ever since D'Antoni got there last year and this past year that we just saw. The assists have gone way up. He's so comfortable at point guard. I'm very surprised. I never thought that would happen. I was very caught off guard at the beginning of 2016 when they said he was going to start playing point guard. I was very surprised. I have to just give him kudos, though, because I did not expect the assist numbers to go up as high as they have. He had about 11 last year. Now he has 9 this year because CP took over a lot of the ball handling role. But, still very impressive. All right, the next guy I got on here, the next 2 guys might ruffle some feathers with people, but, it's just what I thought. I can explain totally why I put them in this order, but I have a great appreciation for both players. Both are tremendous talents. Both are some of the premier guys in the league, but I'll just get into it, and I'll discuss my reasoning after I go through both. So next guy I have is Steph Curry at number 4. His stats for the last year were 26, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists a game. The mold was broken when Steph Curry became an MVP caliber player. He's a hard guy to describe even. He just shoots these moon balls, and his range is half court and in. So I think that that's an astounding talent. And just for this video, I was looking up some of his statistics as far as shooting, and he's always been above 40% for 3-point shooting, which is astounding. Broken the record for 3-pointers made in a season 3 times, which is amazing. And I don't know, the guy just leaves you speechless most of the time. I don't know what to say about him. He's just amazing in everything he does, I think. His only weakness is defense, but his offense more than makes up for that. And he's just in the perfect situation in Golden State, perfect coach, perfect players surrounding him. He's really just got it made in everything between his talent and his teammates. So next guy I have on this list at number 3, which is I think where the controversy will come up with some people debating whether this guy should be this high, is Russell Westbrook. I'll read off his stats for last year. 25 points a game, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. I don't know. I just find him to be a guy very similar to the mold of LeBron in that he just gives you 100% effort all the time. And, okay, how do I explain this? I don't know. Like, in this current NBA, would I take the Warriors or the Thunder with just Westbrook? Obviously the Warriors. But here's the thing. If I put Westbrook on the Warriors and Curry on the Thunder, is Westbrook the one with 2 MVPs and 3 titles, and Curry the one with only 1 MVP and not much to show for playoff success? Yes. I think that Curry is amazing, but very much a lot of his success could very well be a byproduct of his circumstances, I think. Not knocking anything about him. He is an amazing talent, but he does have probably one of the best supporting casts of all time. He has Durant as his arguably number 2 option or number 1 option. He's got Klay Thompson as his number 3, which is amazing. That guy will go down as a Hall of Famer for sure. He's got a Defensive Player of the Year and excellent point forward in Draymond as his number 4 option. And he's got a former All-Star and great basketball IQ of Andre Iguodala as a 5 option. So he's got an amazing supporting cast. He's got a great coach with a great system that's tailor-made for his style of play. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if you're going to start a team completely over where you don't have any other players and no coach and you're just doing a straight-up draft to draft players, would I take Westbrook or Curry first? I think I would take Westbrook because I feel like although Curry does the three-point shooting and the scoring excellently, I feel like Westbrook does more for a team. And it sounds bad maybe to people that don't like Westbrook and like Curry or people that are hardcore Warriors supporters, but I think when you look at Westbrook, I don't know. I just feel like he plays more defense. I feel like maybe the 10 rebounds and 10 assists and the whole triple-double thing, I don't know. I don't think it's amazing. I think that they do play a style that is conducive to him getting the padded stats a little bit. But I think that he just gives 110% all the time. And not that Curry doesn't. I think that Curry definitely gives 100% all the time. But I feel like Westbrook is just that guy who is going to do anything it takes to win. And yes, that does. You might say, well, he's been losing in the first round lately, and he's never even won a title. But I think that he's a guy where, if on a given night he's 6'3", but he can record 20 rebounds or 20 assists or 45 points. It's not anything he does like LeBron, I think, would sort of not surprise me. He had a night where he shot like 12 for 12 from the field, not this past year, but the year before, and it's like the highest shots anyone's ever taken without missing. I thought that was super impressive. So I guess my main argument for putting Westbrook above Curry is that if I was starting a team from scratch with no other players or coaches, I would pick Westbrook over Curry because I feel like Westbrook would solve more immediate problems on a team with no other players. Whereas Curry, you'd have a dynamic scorer, but you wouldn't have much of a defender. Whereas Westbrook isn't a great defender either. He's pretty average, but Curry is like well below average as a defender. So I think that's where I'd pick Westbrook over him is because I think he's better on defense. And, I don't know. I just feel like you could see a stat line from Russ that'd be like 40 points, 20 rebounds, and 30 assists, and you wouldn't necessarily be like that surprised. You'd be like, well, he has put he has put up like 20 rebounds and 20 assists before. So yeah, that's where I'm coming at on that one. I feel like Westbrook has the ability to do more. So that's that. I'll move on now. My second player is Kevin Durant. His stats for last year are 26 points a game, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. It's been amazing to see his defense develop over the past couple of years. I really love that. I love that he's becoming a blocks master. He is really good on the glass with blocking shots. I think that's a great added part of his game because he is 7 feet, even though the stats say he's 6'9". They're lying about that. He's 7 feet tall, so he should be getting a good amount of blocks a game. I think he could get more gaudy scoring numbers, but because he's on a team with so many other talented players, 26 is pretty reasonable to expect from him. I'm not going to give him the number 1 slot, though. I don't know. I feel like he's a guy where I'm not going to necessarily hold it against him, but I think that he has the ability to shrink in big moments of the game, Up 3-1 on the Warriors, and he and Russ both just let it slip away, especially in that Game 6. Durant came up small, and they definitely could have beaten them. I think that they were just as talented, if not more talented. He's 2-time Finals MVP as of yesterday, 2-time champion, 1-time MVP. I can't take anything away from him, but I just think that with my number 1 spot, that guy just has more. So moving on to number 1, I do have LeBron. His stats for the last year were 28 points a game, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists, near triple-double every game. He's been doing it for the last 10 years. There's not much to say, I don't think anything LeBron will ever do in the future will ever surprise anybody. I think that, with him, you sort of got to expect the unexpected. Came back from the 3-1 deficit. You got to expect the unexpected. In his 15th year at 33 years old, he's putting up 28, 9, and 9. I mean, that's never been done before. I don't know. He's just a freak of human nature, and I think he's the only guy I would never doubt in any scenario after the 3-1 comeback. I think he's the only guy where in a series against these Warriors the last 2 years, he's been down 3-0, and people have thought, well, there's still a chance. You do have LeBron. He's sort of like the guy where when he's on your team, anything is possible. Obviously not anything because they lost both of those series the past 2 years, but you always have a chance when he's on your team. I think he's a guy you could put him on any team in the league, and they would for sure make the playoffs and even have a decent shot at making the finals. So, I mean, that's that. I can't really say much more about him. His defense has fallen off significantly, but I think, honestly, this last season was so good offensively, it balanced out a little bit. But his defense is not good anymore. He's a very below-average defender, honestly, because he conserved so much of his energy for offense because the Cavs just didn't have any playmakers this last year. They really needed him to be essentially the point guard and the primary scorer on offense. So he took a lot of plays off on defense to save up energy for the other side of the ball, which I don't like, I guess, because we all know how good of a defender he can be when he locks in. But, if it means putting up his best offensive season, I guess maybe it's worth it. I don't know. That's a discussion for another time, but that's what I got going, guys. Those are my top 10 players in the league right now. Let me know in the comments if you have any disagreements with me. I'd love to hear you out and talk about it. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Keep tuning in for more videos, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.